much for tuning in this week. I say this every time. I'm always so happy that you do. I really consider it a privilege coming into your home, sharing with you what God is doing here in Central Florida. And periodically, we do programs where we highlight ministries that go even beyond Central Florida but are based out of here, and people's stories and testimonies. And today, that is one of the days. We have a tremendous couple with us today. Chaplain Eddie Donnally, his wife Sandi Steele Donnally. They have an incredible testimony. He was a professional horse jockey for many years. An incredible story of transformation, losing out with God, going from just the depths of sin and despair into where God radically saved him, launched him into ministry. And then Sandi has a similar story, including coming from Hollywood and years spent there. And then they do a tremendous work here in Central Florida today and beyond. But we're going to start today. I want to take you back in time, and courtesy of CBN Network, it's going to share some of the testimony of Chaplain Eddie Donnally. Let's take a look.
For almost 20 years, Ed Donnally traveled the country as a professional jockey.
I won something like 1,200 races at least. I rode over 10,000 races. I rode at over 50 different racetracks. I broke at least 13 bones.
As a teen, Ed loved horses and wanted to become a jockey.
I'm small and athletic, and if you weigh 100 pounds, you're not going to be a linebacker for the Rams. So I left home at the age of 16. My dad gave me a train ticket and $40, and I had written a letter to all the horse farms in Lexington, Kentucky, and a man by the name of Herman Goodpasture hired me, and I went there and became a jockey.
He started winning races, and with the money and fame came a wild lifestyle.
The first year I rode, I made more money than my dad did, I think, in all of his life. I was 19. I had a high-rise apartment overlooking the bay in Baltimore. I had a brand new car, and I had syphilis. So you can understand some sort of the lifestyle that I was living in those days. I was 5'2", and I had a 6'8" ego.
When he eventually retired from racing, he became an award-winning newspaper writer and television producer. But intense depression affected everything in his life.
It gotten to a point where there was no light at the end of my tunnel. It was just a tunnel, and I couldn't see any daylight. I couldn't see any light at all, and it was darkness everywhere I was.
Ed had married early in his racing career, but when his marriage ended, he hit rock bottom.
I took 36 Xanax right following my divorce, and the only reason I'm probably alive is a friend of my ex-wife's had a key to the house, and why she had a key I don't even know. But she had a key. She came in, saw me on the floor, called an ambulance.
For the next 6 years, Ed struggled with depression until one day he finally cried out to God.
I got my Bible and I lay down on this floor and I told God, I said, God, you got to show me a verse. I'm going to die. You know, I'm not going to come out of this. I don't know how. The Bible fell open to Isaiah 43. Behold, I'll do you a new thing, and it'll spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will make you a path in the wilderness and a river in the desert.
But the change in Ed's life was a step-by-step process. About a year later, he was in another relationship. He thought his girlfriend had been unfaithful to him, and in a jealous rage, he hit her. She pressed charges, and while he was in the courthouse holding cell, one of the other inmates started preaching.
And then God touched me, and I started crying because I knew God had forgiven me of all the things that I had done and all the misery that I had caused people.
Ed spent 16 days in jail. After his release, his life went in a new direction. He's now a writer and a chaplain on the Los Angeles Mayor's crisis response team, and he's married to Sandi.
I've watched my husband in such a humbling position. He'll be on his knees, and that's just an awesome thing to see your husband on his knees before God.
Ed sees a strong parallel between horse racing and the Christian life.
When you're a jockey and you're in a race and you're inside the eighth pole and you can't separate yourself from the horse is you and you're the horse, you're just one entity. And I think there's a spiritual parallel there with the relationship that we need to strive for with Christ. And when we're in a place where there is no future and we reach out and ask Christ, He's going to show up. He showed up for me. He'll show up for you. He'll show up for anybody that asks.
Well, that gives you just a brief, and let me tell you that's brief, look at Chaplain Eddie Donnally's testimony. But I want to show you a book before we start talking with him that he's the author of a number of books, but this is his autobiography called Ride the White Horse. This is riveting reading, I promise, and you can get it through his website, that goes into much more detail than that video clip did. And if we have time to get into it a little bit more, but we will, but we have many other things to talk about. But we'll see. We'll see what we have to, because I'm so honored to have with us today, sitting to my left. We're going to call you Chaplain today because that is what you are, but you're also Reverend Doctor. You have your doctorate, very accomplished. Eddie Donnally, thank you so much for coming on Bay Focus. We've had you on in the past on The Good Life, which is another show I produce here, hosted by our founder of our network and his wife, Jane, Bob and Jane DeAndre. And we devoted an entire hour to that testimony there, and we took every moment of that. But today we're going to do turbo fast, and you brought with you your lovely wife, Sandi Steele Donnally. Thank you so much. This is my first time getting opportunity to meet you and have you on the show. You have an incredible story as well. But let's fast forward a little bit. This video piece we just saw, Chaplain Eddie, dates back a few years. So that had you living still when it left off in California, but you guys are in Florida now. Bring us to present day. How'd you get here?
Well, I was assisting pastor in a couple of churches, and I just felt my ministry was outside the church, and I started doing disaster response. Been to quite a few disasters, and God put it in my heart to be a chaplain, and I came to Florida and did the program at Morton Plant, which is you have to have a year of residency, clinical pastoral education. So I did a year there and been working as a hospital and hospice chaplain since. I work as a hospice chaplain on the weekends, 2 10-hour days. I'm the only chaplain in the county, run up and down. Yeah. Feel like John Wesley. Only instead of a horse, I got a car. But and also work in Bay Care, both wonderful places to work for. Yeah. And it's a wonderful opportunity to do that kind of ministry. And then
you have a tremendous ministry as a chaplain now, and which really was birthed out there in California when you started all that disaster response and various things. We may have an opportunity a little bit to talk more about what he does with that. But and then also that's what you do, but you also go out and you do ministry, right?
I do.
Outside of even the chaplaincy.
I do, and I think you're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we just got back. I took off and 3 months, and we traveled in our motor home throughout Texas and spoke in 30 Texas prisons to something like 3,800 inmates. Over 400 of them gave their lives to the Lord, 200 dedicated to full-time Christian ministry, and it was a wonderful experience.
Well, that is one of the things, and the video touched on it. You've been on the inside.
I have.
Yeah, you know what it is, and you know how to reach people, and you have some incredible things to share on what you do go and share back there in the prisons. Before we get to that, though, I want to, because our viewers have seen a little bit of a snapshot of your testimony, but they have not of Sandi's yet. Sandi, and first of all, and I don't know if you want to be the one to tell it, give us your testimony, and then how you guys met, but you have a very unique testimony.
I was living in LA, and I was with John Knotts.
Yeah.
And how it started was I went to a studio to have some pictures taken, and I was just praying to God to protect me. And while I was there, I ran into an occult, and I didn't know that at first, that there were people there like that. And so eventually I was being chased down, and I was thrown into this supernatural world that I couldn't imagine. And to make it brief, it took some months to clear it all out. But I was at my home. It was February the 19th, 3 o'clock in the morning, 1987. And I was on my knees because I was so tired. I had people protecting me and everything, and I was just so tired of being chased down. And God was giving me prophecy, which I didn't know what that was at the time. And I could see ahead. So God was protecting me because I always believed in God. I just didn't really have a personal relationship with him yet. And I was on my knees praying next to my bed. And I had mirrors on my closet and a dresser with a mirror in front. And I got back up on the bed because I was asking God, please help me make these people leave me alone. They were leaving hex marks on my car and different things like that. So anyway, I got on my bed, and it was about 3 a.m. in the morning, and I started levitating. And it was a smooth levitation, but I was trying to yell, and I couldn't. And I could see myself in all the mirrors. And I just went up, and I thought I was going to hit the ceiling, but I just stopped there. And there was a light over me. It was just so beautiful. And I saw my body started shaking, and an entity came out of my feet, like a human black form. And I was like, it was just kind of shocking, but I was like, what is this? And I still couldn't scream. I was lowered down very easily, so I know it was God doing that. And I got up, and I was so light, and I started running to the other rooms, asking, telling my family. So they were helping me throw away things that I had brought into my house that was from the studio and everything. And then that was my really big search for God and for Jesus. I was just so searching.
Let me stop you 1 minute before we keep going, because you kind of blew past something that our viewers are going to go, what? Did I just hear that? Mm-hmm. That you, because you have your testimony is in depth, so I know you're trying to move it along. Uh-huh. But you got in the middle of the whole Hollywood scene.
Yes.
And you had a relationship. We'll just show on the screen while we talk about it. 9 years long with Don Knotts, and we have a couple pictures. Mm-hmm. And it was out of that relationship that you finally realized that was not going anywhere, and that you started this search. You started trying to figure out where you were going with your life when you broke up. But people are recognizing some of those faces there, including Andy Griffith. Mm-hmm. But so you had this experience, and I read your testimony, so I want to see, this was an amazing experience. You came out of some really tough stuff in Hollywood, a stalker situation, the whole thing. You came out of that. You are in your search for God. You had this, you guys, and just so our viewers know, this couple operates in deliverance ministry as well. They know what it is to deal one-on-one with demonic spirits, and you encountered that in your own life. Okay, so now we're back. You're on your search. You've had this demonic encounter. You've been freed of this demonic situation. Where do you go from there?
Well, I started really searching, and I didn't even know the Christianese. So I went to a bookstore. I was trying to find out what just happened to me, like in a couple of days. And I read it, and then I said, like there's possession and all kinds of things that can happen to you without you knowing it because you're living a certain way. And so I just really started reading my Bible more, and I started searching, and eventually I came to the Dream Center. That's where I met my husband.
This is the LA Dream Center, right, you guys?
LA Dream Center.
Yes, absolutely.
And I was trying to learn more about the Bible, and I was in a Bible class, and that's where I met my husband.
I was fresh out of jail. I was in jail for 16 days for hitting a woman who has since come to Christ and is a friend of ours now, but it was an awful thing to do, and I don't make excuses for it. But the Dream Center, I wound up at the Dream Center, and I should have been in a program, but actually I started to work for a ministry called Metro Kids, which did sidewalk Sunday school in the inner city, and we were going out at night, 12 o'clock at night to inner city Hollywood. And the wonderful thing about the Dream Center is you could not only bring people to Christ, but they could come back and live there for a year. And that's where we met. We met in a Bible class. Actually, I was studying to be a minister, and Sandi was taking the same courses, and she kept acing all the courses.
You go, I got to get to know this girl.
That's what it was.
It was an incredible supernatural event how we came together. She was packed and getting ready to go to New Orleans.
I was going back home to New Orleans.
So the last night of this class, everybody was gathering after the class for a kind of a farewell dinner, and I didn't want to go. I went upstairs, And I knew she was going, but I didn't want to go. I was just tired. I went upstairs and sat down, and I just heard it in my spirit so strong. You need to go meet this woman. And I'm sitting there arguing with God. I'm really tired. I worked all day. I've been in school all night. You want me to go meet somebody? But thank the Lord, I listened.
Yeah.
So we did, and we met.
How many years now?
Going on 20 years. That was 19 years ago.
Wow. And what God has put together. I mean, this is amazing. Okay. So you guys, like God brings you guys together. You have grown in the Lord through this. Obviously, the partnership solidified, including your relationship with the Lord, and you guys just began to grow in the Lord, grow together in the Lord. Bring us now to you guys have a heartbeat to reach people that have, I mean, you know, I see this so many times in the shows we do, but you guys just exemplify it, you know, so much more so than even some things I've seen. You can just hit rock bottom in life. When God restores and then he launches you into ministry, you never forget where you came from. And you want to reach the hurting people. That's translated into prison ministry for you guys. Tell us about this tour you did and how you minister together.
Well, you know what I think, Darlene? I think the source of our tears often directs our ministry. And I'd been speaking in prisons in Florida 7 or 8, and God just put it in my heart because I found Christ in a jail cell. I found Christ in a huge holding cell. It filled up with what I believe was the Shekinah glory, and I'm always asking God, you showed me your glory. What am I to do with it now? And then God has put such a compassion for people, and especially people who are incarcerated, because I spent 16 days in LA County. It was the worst time of my life. Yeah. So we took off 3 months, motorhome, booked in 30. I was originally going to try 20 prisons, and a prison minister in Texas told me, you'll never get booked, because this is actually very hard, because they have a lot of people that want to speak in prisons. But unusual testimony, and I'm a chaplain myself. I had a rapport with prison chaplains, so we actually did 30. And it wasn't an easy time, but at the same time, I mean, it rained, our motorhome was leaking, Sandi had surgery, she had to keep her leg up, and I was driving, I probably drove 10,000 miles. I was stationed one place, 2 different places, and driving out to prisons. But it was one of the most fulfilling times in my life. I knew that I was actually in the center of God's will for my life.
And I want to, so that we can cover this, so we don't run out of time to cover this. There's specific things you go into prison and you share, because part of your story too is abuse and sexual abuse and various things too of what you've been through in your own life. And you guys have been through stuff, and you want to go and you feel you have a message to share.
Well, Sandi grew up on the streets of New Orleans.
As a little kid.
Yeah, she had a terrible kind of beginning as I did. And I was sexually abused by an older adolescent. And there's few things that have a more indelible impact on one's psyche than sexual abuse. In prisons, up to 50% of the men in prisons have been sexually abused, up to 80% of the women. Sandi and I were speaking in a prison in Marion one night, and we asked for a show of hands of women who had been sexually abused, and I think they all raised their hands. Yeah. So I went back to school in my 60s and got a doctorate, and really the reason that I did that, because I wanted to understand what happened to me. I went from being functional to being legally, certifiably insane. I was in 2 psych wards. I tried to commit suicide, and I didn't know what happened to me. And I since learned the psychology of it. Psychology for me is just the way God made us. Theology is the way God changes us.
Marry the two, though.
Yes, yes. But I did, and now I do a training. And when I was in Texas, I spoke to something like 300 prisoners did the training, and over 60 of them admitted or talked about being abused for the first time, which is a miracle in itself. So now I have a training. That
they even opened up to do this. All right, I'm going to move us along. I wanted to get that because it's a big part of what you have a heart for. And even not only in prisons, but in ministry, even if you go speak anywhere, you have a heart for this and for healing in these areas. Wait, I want to get to a video that is so great that you did, because part of what you've done too is disaster response. You've gone out to different locations. Just quickly, where have you've all done disaster?
I went to Haiti right after the earthquake there.
Yeah.
Been to several tornadoes in aftermath. In Joplin, I was in Joplin 3 days after the tornado there that killed 230-some people. Was involved in Superstorm Sandy and some other places.
And in this video we want to show is going to
wreck.
show a few things that you've done with that, and put together by the Foursquare denomination which you work with. Power of One. It's called Power of One. You guys exemplify what one person can do. Why is that so important?
We are one couple, and what we did in Texas is just an example of, you know, it's wonderful to work in organizations and for organizations, but we don't have to. God gives us a mission. God sends us individually, and we are to go. And when we go, God's miracles will go with us.
If God says go, don't wait for a whole group to tell you to go. Let's take a look at this. We'll be back after the Power of One.
Isaiah 55 says that my ways are higher above your ways, my thoughts are higher above your thoughts than the heavens are above the earth, says the Lord God. And sometimes we just have to depend upon God. Tragedies come in all sizes, shapes, and forms, but come they do. They come on an international level, they come on a national level, they happen in our backyards. The question is, what do we do when they happen? September 12th, 2008, 225 people got on a train in downtown Los Angeles. I don't think any of them really had any thought at all that they weren't going to get off that train. Two trains met. Hundreds were injured. 25 were killed. For every victim, there's husbands, wives, friends, brothers, sisters. I was called in to be a part of death notifications, and we had to notifying families that their loved ones were not going to come home. It was a very trying time. And I walked out of there, and I think I hit the wall. I just started crying. And it's all right to cry. Jesus cried. And I think I shared some of those same tears. You know, sometimes I think we get caught up in doing things for people, when in reality, God just wants us to be with people.
His mother is dead.
And his father?
He did.
Sometimes you're called just to be with people as they walk through the darkest moments in their lives. When just being there, nothing more, means so much.
What answers can you give to a person who's lost everything? How do you encourage a people that their lives have fallen apart?
He never told us that we won't share the pain that we see, whether it be in Haiti or whether it be in our backyard, when a member of our church suffers a loss and grief. If we're not there, then we're not doing what Christ wants.
I know God has a plan for my country. If you ask me how to explain that, I don't know exactly. But the things I know, He never forsake you. He never leave you. He's still beside you and with you.
there is hope because we have that through Jesus. I mean, we all know that He has a better tomorrow ahead for every one of us. And to come alongside them and say, I'm here with you from now on. I'll walk beside you. Hold your hands up while you do the work. We'll just get out there and move one brick after another until it's done.
In the darkest moments, God always chooses to shine the brightest, and we're called to do the same.
Wow, that just touches my heart, the power of one person. Never let that hold you back to go and do, to help where help is needed. And you both live this. How can our viewers connect with you? You're available for ministry. Tell them what you're available to do.
We're certainly on our website. Our phone number is on our website. It's easy to contact, email through our website. We're available to speak in churches. We're available to do, we do dueling testimonies.
Yes.
Pass
the baton.
Which are quite fun. I got to learn not to hog the whole time.
That's right. That's
Please
true.
tap them on the shoulder. My
That's
turn.
true.
I want to tell people this book, wow, this is tells his whole story. You have just seen the surface. You want to go behind the scenes of what it was like being in horse racing, the jockey world, and the different things that happened to him and people he connected with and how he got out of it, how God really restored his life.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get this book. We'll be right back. Hello, my name is Darlene Greenlee, and I want to invite you to join us each week on Bay Focus. We are going to highlight local ministries, community organizations, events, concerts. Reporter Brooke Rathmel goes behind the scenes to get the interviews you want to see. I hope you will join me each week on Bay Focus. Well, I've so enjoyed this program today with Chaplain Eddie and Sandi Donnally. You can reach them. Check them out, Flowing River Church in Clearwater as well. They do ministry events there as well. Go to Flowing River Churches. They have a website and reach them. You can find out when they'll be speaking there. And I hope you'll invite them to speak at your church and organization as well. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned in with us on social media as well. We'll see you next week. God bless you.